Imagine it's 4,000 years ago. No electricity, no concrete, no plastic, no grocery stores. Your house, your whole town is made out of wood and stone and packed earth. If you want to eat something or use something, you or someone you know has to grow it or make it. Now, imagine the worst rain you've ever seen, and imagine that lasting for weeks, months, even years. This is the kind of rain that washes away even modern roads and floods rivers. You can't grow crops, you can't walk 10 steps without getting stuck in the mud. Cultures around the world tell stories like this. Flood myths, we call them, and we've looked at a few from China already. This week and next week, though, we'll cover another one, possibly the most important, the story of a flood, a supernatural heist, and the incredible dedication of one person to his people and his nation. Join me, Jaer Christie, as I explore the hidden legends that shape the world on The Mythographist, Myths of Mainland China. Gun steals the Xirang. The rains came, and the rains fell, and fell, and fell, and did not cease. The lands grew heavy with their weight. The ground bloated, the grass drowned, the heavens thundered and shook, and lightning streaked, and beneath dark clouds huddled human and beast alike. This was in the days of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, when the world was yet wild and the gods had not wholly left the earthly realm. The mortals who walked the soil learned to till it from the great farmer Xirang, and as the waters rose, they watched their long seasons of work disappear beneath the ever-dripping drops of rain. Tiandi, the supreme divinity, looks down upon the human world. He calls to his advisors, the gods of the 4 mountains, and asks them, "What shall we do about this storm? For it is unrelenting, and those who look to us pray for help. They offer incense and beg us to save them." The gods of the 4 mountains talk amongst themselves, murmuring from their high places beneath the thunder and sending their gazes out among men and women, animal and herb. And still the rains fall. Finally, they return to Tiandi. "Look with us upon the earth," they say in their wise and ancient voices. "Surely if there is one who can bring help to humankind, it is he who understands ways both natural and unnatural. Among all who live, see Gun, who walks with the beasts of the forest but sleeps in the villages of man. It is he who we commend to you to do your bidding." But Tiandi looks upon Gun and scoffs, and turns his eyes elsewhere. "If this is the man you choose, then perhaps it would be better for their kind to vanish beneath the waters," he says. "For though you see his actions, I behold his heart. And Gun is foolhardy and proud. A triumph by him over nature would only do harm to his people." In the mortal lands, still drenched with rain day after day, Gun knows nothing of this exchange. He does not feel the weight of heaven's stare. Even so, he knows that the floodwaters spell the end of all who live upon the earth if they are not stopped. And brash though he may be, he directs his people to make dams to keep their crops safe, and to divert waters to save their homes. Does this defy the ways of heaven to go against nature? Can the deeds of mankind be so different from those of the gods, if both are so separate from the living world? Or are they each only a part of a greater whole? Only heaven knows the answer. The rains persist, though, and their weight is more than any man-made barricade can bear. Dams burst and canals overflow, and villages wash away, and Gun can only stand in the mud as all he has worked for crumbles, soggy and sodden. It is as he roams the forest with his animal companions that the answer comes to him. He walks with his friends, Gui the tortoise and Yan the swallow, and tells them of his childhood. "Long ago, I would watch my grandfather work and listen to his stories," Gun says. "He was one of those who brought the earth under his dominion, and he told us of Xirang, the divine breathing soil that grows by itself. But alas, this is only a myth, or a heavenly tool that has long vanished from our world. Is it? Asks Gui slowly as she trudges along. It may well be that you have never seen it, but Xirang is no myth. This is true, echoes Yan, fluttering nearby. I have seen Xirang myself. Tiandi keeps it in the great jade cupboard in his hall. Then it is well within his means to fix these waters, Gun says, upset. Why does he not heed our pleas? Perhaps he does not wish to trouble himself, suggests the bird. Why then does he not give it to us that we may save ourselves, Gun puzzles. Maybe he has forgotten about it, says Gui. His dominion is wide and many wonders are at his command. I should ask him for Xirang, the man decides. I shall. I shall not ask for his help, only for the tools to help myself. The tortoise looks at the swallow, and the swallow looks at the tortoise. This he will not permit, no matter how noble your cause may be, Gui says. Yan continues. It has been an age and more since Tiandi last permitted a mortal within his courts. Surely you would perish before you could even glimpse him. Gun sighs, and his heart feels as heavy as the boughs of the branches that bend beneath the endless rain. All is not lost, though, Yan says thoughtfully, alighting upon a large stone. Tomorrow, Tiandi leaves his palace to visit other gods, Tiandi and all his courtiers. Only guards will remain, Gui muses. Gun, bring 4 bottles of baijiu from your village and meet us tomorrow at dawn. The next day, as the sun turns the rain clouds a slightly lighter shade of gray, Gun the man, Yan the swallow, and Gui the tortoise set out upon celestial roads, bound for the palace of Tiandi. When they arrive, only the heavenly guard are to be seen. Stay out of sight, the swallow advises his human friend. Put the bottles on Gui's back and wait for my chirp. So, while Gun hides, blinking at the sky so bright and free of rain, Gui trundles off into the open, strolling up to the 4 guards with Yan. Good day, heavenly guards, warbles Yan as they approach. Have you eaten this morning? Hello, Yan. Hello, Gui, the guards mutter. We have not eaten, and it is not a good day, for while the whole court has gone to watch Chang'e dance in her palace on the moon, we are stuck here, guarding nothing from no one, with no one to talk to and no one to cook for us. Cheer up, says Gui. As thanks for your tireless work, it is fit for you to have refreshment. See, we bring a gift from the mortal realm for you to enjoy. A fine rice liquor. We really should not, says the first guard, taking out 4 small cups. Indeed, it is important for us to stand guard, says the second, passing the cups around to his friends. Thankless though our job may be, we must be ever vigilant, says the third, pouring baijiu into each cup. Hardships and temptations may abound, but we will never leave our post, agrees the fourth, touching his cup to the table around which they all sit. The other 3 do the same, and their leader declares ganbei, which means dry cup, and together the 4 guards drink their cups dry indeed. May you enjoy your day all the more, Yan says, and he reaches to take the bottle back. We must be going. It would be a shame to waste such good baijiu, protests the second guard, holding the bottle out of Yan's reach. Come now, do not be greedy. We must bring some to the other members of the Heavenly Guard who sit at other posts, says Gui sternly. The 4th guard shakes his head mournfully. It is only us, we 4, who remain to guard this entire palace. High and low though you may search, no others will you find to share these drinks with. How embarrassing, Yan whispers loudly to Gui. We have brought 4 bottles. Far too much liquor for so few guards. Gui's face shows only worry. What shall we say? No one will believe us that only 4 guards remained here. They shall surely accuse us of not doing our job and trying to keep the Baiju all for ourselves." "You need not worry," the first guard reassures them. "We shall find some way to take care of your problem for you." "But all 4 bottles?" Yan frets. "There are only 4 of you. Surely a bottle is too much for one man, even a man as strong as each of you." The third guard raises his hands placatingly. Come, of course one man will not drink a whole bottle. See, there are 4 of us, and among 4, what is 1 bottle? There's no cause for worry. We shall share each bottle in the same way." And so, with all the hesitancy a swallow and a tortoise can show, Yan and Gui entrust the 4 bottles of baijiu to the 4 guards. The 4th bottle has not even been touched when Yan chirps, and Gun walks lightly past the 4 slumbering guards. Through the great palace of heaven the 3 of them stride, straight to the huge cabinet carved from jade that keeps all of Tiandi's wonders. It has many doors and drawers and hidden hinges, and after some time Gun begins to wonder if Xirang is even real. But a few minutes more and he pulls out a drawer, and his search bears fruit at last. Xirang is strange to see and stranger to touch. It seems dry like any dirt, but against the skin of his palm, Gun feels it move and grow like living mud. Surely this heavenly material can save his lands from the floods. But when he picks it up, it slips through his fingers. Though he grasps it, it slides away again. "Here," says Gui, "take Xirang and put it on my shell. I will carry it down to earth, and you can use it there as you see fit." So Gun and Yan load Gui with as much Xirang as they dare, and together they make their way back out of the palace, past the dreaming guards and back down to the mortal realm with the breathing soil. When at last they arrive in the forest beside Gun's village, Xirang slides off of Gui's back. "Oh no," gasps Yan. "Was Xirang so heavy, Gui? Why did you say nothing? Your shell is cracked." Gui smiles peacefully. "Do not worry yourself, my friend. My shell will heal in time, and heavy though Xirang may be, the weight of our failure would be far greater." And in time, her shell does heal, but not without scars. Tortoise shells even to this day bear the mark of Xirang's weight. So, whenever you see the creases in a tortoise's shell, remember Gui's sacrifice and be grateful. Gun wastes no time. Off he sets, with a satchel full of the self-growing dirt, and with it he builds dams better and stronger than ever before. Xirang, wherever it is set, grows and multiplies and seals up cracks despite the persistence of the rains. When women and men look from their houses and see Gun's work, they see not only a flood wrestled under control, but also hope that they may yet survive this ordeal. And so, for a time, it seems that human ingenuity has triumphed over nature's torrents. But this triumph does not escape the notice of Tiandi. The supreme deity looks from his heavenly throne and sees that, though the rains still fall, the floods do not cause so much damage as they might. And, curious, he looks closer and sees that Gun has grown in favor among all people. Suspicious now, he looks closer still, and Tiandi finds that the work of Gun's hands was aided by none other than the breathing heavenly soil, Xirang. Anger rises in Tiandi's heart. He looks and sees the events that transpired while he was away, the swallow and the tortoise who brought the baijiu, the drunken guards, the man who stole into his palace and stole Xirang, and returned to the earth without consequence. The fury of Tiandi is not to be taken lightly. He calls Xirang, the fire god, to his side. "Go," Tiandi orders him, "punish each of the guards who failed their duty, and break the dams that Gun has built. Show no mercy to those who have wronged me and defiled heaven." So, after first executing the 4 lazy guards, Xirang descends to the mortal world in a blaze of power. At his touch the dams break once more, and the floods rise higher, and the people wail in fear and despair. And then he enters the forest where he kills Yan the swallow, and Gui the tortoise, and Gun the man. And there on the mountainside, Gun's body lies in the rain, untouched, unrotting, but its belly slowly swelling. If this doesn't seem like a good ending to the story, don't worry. Gun stealing Xirang is only the first half. Next week, we'll cover the second half, where Yu stops the flood. This, as we've said, isn't the first Chinese flood myth we've looked at. The Hole in the Sky and Lantern Festival both deal with similar events. It's hard to guess whether they're all about the same event from different perspectives, but they are at least distinct stories, with distinct characters, motivations, and the legend of Gun and Yu is essentially the Chinese equivalent of Noah's Ark in the West. We'll look more closely at both of these ideas next week. There are a number of different hypotheses for what Xirang, Tiandi's living soil, really was, if the legend has any factual basis at all. The most prominent theory seems to be that it's actually a kind of absorbent clay that's common in Shanxi province, but Wikipedia still says citation needed on that one, so Personally, since another translation is breathing soil, I always just pictured it as an actual happy little pile of dirt that's alive, complete with googly eyes. Also mentioned in the story, briefly, are the gods of the 4 mountains. These are probably simply the spirits of 4 mountains that were sacred to the culture at the time, but they might also be physical or spiritual rulers, or a symbolic personification of authority, but they're not really mentioned in any other legend, so it's hard to know anything more than that. Gun's story gave me the delightful opportunity to give Gui and Xirang bigger roles than they'd had in 5 Beasts of Good Fortune and The Hole in the Sky, respectively. It also let me squeeze in a description of Chinese gift-giving and drinking culture. In China, it's polite to refuse a gift or a drink a few times, even if you really want it, and I think that's a fairly common trope in Chinese comedy. Baijiu, the drink we mentioned today, is often translated as white wine, but it's definitely not white or wine. A better translation is actually clear alcohol, and it's the national and very strong liquor of China. All I'll say is beware. I'm not sure whether or not this is actually supposed to be an origin story for why the tortoise's shell has lines on it, but it does explicitly mention that the shell cracks, and given tortoise shell's ritual importance in ancient China, it seemed like a good connection to make. Interestingly, a lot of these smaller details, the swallow and the tortoise helping Gun, the Baijiu, Xirang being the executor of Tiandi's wrath, and even Tiandi going to visit Chang'e's palace, weren't mentioned by the people that I interviewed and talked to, but they did show up pretty consistently in literary versions of the legend. There are a lot of other variations in the story too, like who's responsible for what, how deliberate Gun's death was, and even how he died. But that's just one more example of how alive mythology still is in modern China, and that's the whole point of this series. So that's all for Gun, but be sure to come back next week to hear about Yu and the end of this flood myth. Thanks for listening. This episode of The Mythographist was written, narrated, and produced by me, Jaer Christie, with research by myself and Elena Tung, and music by Xiaoqing Luna Li, and from the compilation The Essence of Famous Chinese Folk Music. If you liked this episode, stick around, because there's a lot more where this came from. Subscribe to get notified automatically when The Mythographist updates, and be sure to check out the rest of the episodes on your favorite podcast platform, or on YouTube. Finally, if there's a story you grew up with that has shaped the way you see the world, I'd love to hear it. We all have so many stories to tell, and the more we hear, the more we'll understand each other, because we can't learn if we don't listen. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time on The Mythographist. Yeah.
That's right, you are from China, Ojo.